Millions of rand which could help in the fight against COVID-19 or improve the lives of ordinary South Africans is being lost daily in our streets and shops. It's crime on an unprecedented and organised scale. Over 8 billion rand is being lost in unpaid excise taxes alone each year through the sale of illegal cigarettes. Those involved in this illicit activity don't care, act as if above the law, and are openly defiant of authorities. And the lockdown tobacco ban has made them more brazen than ever before and has resulted in the illicit brands now grabbing the major share of cigarette sales.
You know, worry for the police for the cigarette.
Don't worry about them, the police.
I'm worried for the police.
No, don't worry, police know nothing, something problem now.
You say don't need to worry about SARS and whatnot.
No, the people talking nonsense.
This is how South Africa is being scalped. Taxes on any brand's packet of 20 cigarettes come to a minimum of 20 rand and 1 cent. That's 17 rand 40 in excise on every pack payable as soon as the cigarettes leave the factory, plus VAT of at least 2 rand 61 cents, which is added along the route. Add the cost of raw materials, manufacturing, distribution, and then retail markup, and the minimum credible price for any legal pack of cigarettes is 25 rand. But this pack bought openly was sold to us for just 10. A final retail price that amounts to less than half the tax that should have been paid on them. You don't have to be a brain surgeon to work out that a scandalous amount of tax and excise is being dodged here. And, as we'll show you, it's now happening in plain sight all over the country. Our undercover team went to 44 different retail outlets in Johannesburg, Cape Town, Pretoria and Durban in the last month. 43 out of the 44 captured on film sold us cigarettes for less than the amount of taxes that should be levied on each pack. Our hidden camera operator takes up the story.
What I found was that the sale of illicit cigarettes has become a common everyday event. They sell with impunity to anyone and everyone.
Like this is cheap.
Some sold us packs of cigarettes for just over 7 rand each. And in one case, we were offered 20 cigarettes for 6 rand 30 cents a pack when buying a large amount.
Last year alone, in 2020, about 8 billion rand was lost in customs and excise taxes on cigarettes, on tobacco alone. This is pure looting. Can you imagine how many vaccines we could have bought as South Africa with the 8 billion rand plus that has been lost over a period of just 12 months in South Africa? Can you imagine what other services could have been brought at a time when service delivery is poor in many of our areas in South Africa? How many teachers' salaries could have been beefed up? How many doctors, how many nurses? Hospitals don't have enough PPEs. So really, I think the time has now come for government to stop the talk and to start acting, and to act with urgency, and we want decisive action to be taken.
To say the market has been swamped with illicit brands is an understatement. Our investigators were able to openly buy some 30 different brands, all of them for below the legal price. The illegal brands today account for 2 out of every 3 cigarettes sold in South Africa. The leading brands include Caesar, RG, Remington Gold, Sharp, Chicago and Savannah. During the lockdown, brands belonging to Gold Leaf Tobacco were the biggest sellers on the black market. RG led the way with an estimated 10.7 million sticks sold every day. Sharp sold 5.2 million sticks daily and Chicago 5 million. Remington Gold, made in Zimbabwe by Gold Leaf, was smuggled so successfully it was in the top 6 sellers and is still widely available in huge numbers today.
The government does not have a handle on it. It is estimated that the illicit trade of cigarettes worldwide is about 10%. Now in South Africa, we have enormous times, we have a 33% illicit trade in cigarettes. So that shows you that there's definitely a problem that we need to address.
Our undercover team visited 20 shops across Cape Town. Everywhere the story was similar. Cigarettes are available at a retail price below the 20 Rand and 1 cent taxes supposed to be charged on every pack of 20.
15.
15? Yeah. Dude, why so cheap? It's cheap.
Yeah, cheap, very cheap.
15.
15.
There's not any more illegal. All of that is now is legal.
No.
Cigarette.
Sure.
100 and 200%. They come and every month they come and start saying, yeah, I mean. The SARS is come every month.
Okay.
So they don't say anything about that's legal, that one illegal.
How much?
140.
140.
Yes, 140.
140 carton.
15 packet. You want 15 packet or carton?
Carton.
Yeah, I have.
No problem getting it.
No. Anytime you want. This one 17.
17.
Please don't say nothing.
They don't say nothing.
No. 190.
How much?
90.
90. Yeah. How much?
88.
88 per carton.
10 there.
10 Rand.
Yeah.
Yo, let me see.
It's 10 packet.
10 Rand a packet.
How many packet?
One shop is not only selling at a price that is too cheap, but also offering home delivery.
How many cartons can you get for me?
Right now I got 3 cartons for you. Even if you want home delivery, I can do it also.
Home delivery.
Yeah.
And big savings come in a big box. If you buy a large box of 50 cartons, known in the trade as a master case, that's 500 packs of 20 cigarettes, they are even cheaper.
If I want big box for 50 cartons, can you get?
Yeah.
How much?
4,400. 4,500.
How much?
4,500.
4,500.
Yeah.
No, man. For 50, yeah?
Yeah.
4,500.
Yeah.
For this one?
Yeah.
4,500 for 50.
Yeah.
Big box price.
Yeah.
Box price is a 63 Rand. But
You can't get into trouble with the cigarettes. Don't worry about SARS.
no, this one is a legal one.
Some shopkeepers, like this one in Cape Town, appear misguided. VAT has to be paid on most products. On cigarettes, it comes on top of the 17 Rand 40 excise duty that must be paid by manufacturers the moment the cigarettes leave the factory, and that should then be baked into the price as it makes its way down the chain to the shops. In this store, the shopkeeper selling us a pack for just 20 Rand proudly produces an invoice showing VAT, claiming that this alone makes his cigarettes legal.
It is actually disturbing to find that not only in the spaza shops can you buy these illicit cigarettes, you also find them at national supermarket chain stores. There's one that we went to visit and we found on their shelves, alongside regulated cigarettes and legal cigarettes, we found illicit cigarettes being sold at a price below the regulated price.
How much? 99. Have they always been so cheap? Is it a special?
If you are a business owner, small or large, you should not buy illegal products. It is easy to identify these projects, specifically in cigarettes. I mean, if you buy a packet of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes, under 20 Rand, there's definitely a problem with that. But it's easy to identify them. If we do become aware of illegal activities, we will report it to law enforcement agencies.
Up to 2 in every 3 cigarettes now sold in South Africa are illicit, and the brands involved are mostly made by licensed and supposedly legitimate manufacturers. One trick that the criminals often use to avoid paying due taxes on these cigarettes is to declare them for export before allowing them to disappear into the South African black market, a practice known as ghost exporting. Alternatively, these untaxed so-called exports duly leave the country before being smuggled back in for sale. This is known as round-tripping.
It's common knowledge that at Beitbridge, prior to the problem moving inland, people were just walking through the river, carrying cartons of cigarettes and kind of dropping it off at a point, and then they will bring it through in a pickup truck or something. So we're moving again back to that. And the routes become, or the the extent to which a smuggler will go not to be detected is huge, and it actually shows that the profit in terms of the illicit practice is very high. So they will move stock through Mozambique into Eswatini, and then move it from Eswatini around into South Africa.
It is criminal. It is a blatant disregard for the rule of law. This illicit cigarette trade is not haphazard. It is well organized, it is syndicated, it is criminal, and it has to stop.
Smuggling has become a major problem. We are seeing an increase in the number of cigarette smugglers from Zimbabwe into South Africa through the Beitbridge border that's not well policed. We're seeing these foot soldiers almost every day crossing the border, crossing the rivers right into South Africa with thousands and thousands of cigarettes. The taxes are not being paid, so you find guys with backpacks, you find them with containers, you find even truckloads of cigarettes coming through the Beitbridge border post. We know that a SARS official was arrested late last year after he cleared a load of about 9 million rand of cigarettes, Remington Gold, through the border post, and luckily the police in Limpopo stopped the load, intercepted the load, and arrested at least 3 suspects.
Right now, there are multiple trucks making daily deliveries of illegal cigarettes to our cities. But in an effort by the syndicates to stay ahead of the authorities, the methods used to get the illegal cargo to the shops changes daily. Some smugglers think there is so little chance of being caught that they fill up the boots of their cars and openly drive through borders. Even when caught, they appear to consider simply running away.
You run away, I shoot you.
Others go to enormous lengths to hide smuggled cigarettes, even putting them inside a loaf of bread, or hiding them under a pile of pineapples. And this illegal merchandise reaches all corners of South Africa, whether remote villages or cities like Durban. Here, every shop we visited offered cigarettes below the 20 Rand and 1 cent taxes threshold. And many shopkeepers tried telling our undercover crew that these plainly illicit cigarettes were legal. A wide range of illicit brands were available.
RG Chicago, Pacific, Rainbow, Ossum.
What's the cheapest cigarette here?
Ossum.
What's the cheapest one you have?
Cheapest one, Ossum. 120. I selling my own legal, not.
So SARS is not going to end up with this. Sure.
Sure.
How much is this?
80 Rand.
You know how much is this?
130 and 25, 155.
I'm just worried about SARS and...
No, when I'll give you the slip, I step it.
Okay.
Something happens.
But not every shopkeeper is being hoodwinked. In Durban, one quite openly boasted to us that he was selling cigarettes smuggled in from Mozambique to avoid tax. And not only were they untaxed, he explained, they also contained nicotine levels above South Africa's 1.2 milligram legal limit. These so-called 1.4 cigarettes were available in several stores here.
You want the 1.4?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 210, man. You don't pay tax for that one, money is taken from the Mozambique.
This illicit activity is not just carrying on in plain sight in shops, but in the street too.
20 Rand. And 15.
People should not buy illegal cigarettes because you don't know the ingredients. You don't know what stuff goes into manufacturing that cigarette. Let me bring it to your attention that it might be cheaper, but your health, because of the ingredients that we don't know of, might create serious health problems for yourselves. You might be saving money, but in the long run, you might have to spend a lot of money looking after your health as a result of the damage brought upon by these fake counterfeits and illicit cigarettes.
All crime is driven by a demand. So a lot of the stuff goes into our SMMEs. We need to train and make our SMMEs aware of the fact that This is not worth the while, long term. It's cheaper for you to buy the product now, but you could be killing people in your community. You're robbing your country of taxes, and that awareness program is what I think is critical.
Perversely, the ban imposed on cigarette sales during lockdown last year has handed control of the tobacco market to criminals. During the 144-day prohibition, every cigarette was illicit, and the companies who were already used to supplying this market took full advantage, as the government lost more than 1 billion rand in excise tax every month. More than 10 million previously law-abiding smokers had no choice to satisfy their addiction but be driven to the black, illegal market. The criminals were able to charge sky-high prices and are now so enriched and entrenched they are not relinquishing their monopoly without a fight. The Research Unit on the Economics of Excisable Products, REEP, based at the University of Cape Town, found that more than 90% of smokers were able to illegally buy cigarettes during lockdown. The study states, the illicit market, which was already well established before the lockdown, became even more entrenched. According to this research unit, the RG brand of cigarettes, which became the single most sold brand during the sales ban, now has a market share 20% higher than before the sales ban was imposed. Sales of Remington Gold are up, the study group says, by 111%. The university study goes on to say SARS and other law enforcement agencies should prioritize curbing the illicit trade in cigarettes. Business Leadership South Africa called the ban notorious. In a statement, BLSA wrote, numerous studies found that few smokers actually stopped smoking. All they did was buy cigarettes illegally, pouring money into the wallets of illicit traders. It has caused long-term damage to revenue collection on tobacco and enabled the illicit economy.
The damage was massive. The Global Financial Integrity Report shows that the illicit trade is annually between 89 billion and 152 billion per annum in total. Now that's all illicit trade that we're talking about, but the cigarettes are amongst the most illicit traffic goods in the world. The global market for illicit tobacco products is large and is growing. You know, the value of illicit tobacco trade is estimated to be greater than the illicit trade in oil, wildlife, timber, and even blood diamonds combined. Now, normally in South Africa, we have a 33% illegal trade in cigarettes alone. Now, that is massive. The ban on alcohol and tobacco products boosted this illicit trade in South Africa. So we jumped on 33% illicit trade in cigarettes to 100% illicit trade in cigarettes. Now the fiscus, according to our estimations, lost about 35 million rands per day. Now that, in terms of excise duties, the amount lost due to the ban on cigarettes was in the region of 1.2 billion rand during this lockdown period. Now the final figures is not yet in, but adding alcohol to that, it is massive.
Burgers is deeply concerned about the fallout, the impact of the money lost to the national fiscus through illegal cigarette sales.
This money is, we're going to need this money a lot during the rebuild of South Africa post-COVID, and we don't have that money now. The real impact, however, is on closing of businesses, job losses, loss in investments. The closing of businesses leads to job losses, as I've mentioned, and that leads to poverty. And ultimately, poverty kills people.
In Gauteng, our investigators found more widespread evidence of illicit cigarette sales.
Remington Gold?
Yes, 95.
A carton?
Everything is cheap.
Everything is cheap.
Yeah.
80 rand?
Yes, uncle.
Well, please. How much are Remington?
100 rand.
100 rand.
380.
192. And this one?
138.
138. So 138. 100 rand.
Yeah.
Shawali, 100 rand.
Yeah.
Which is the cheapest one here?
200.
Oh, 200. RG?
Yeah.
How much a carton?
95 rand.
95. Can I get?
190.
190.
345.
Rainbow. How much? This one is 85. 85. Which is the cheapest cigarette here?
15, 14.
So this one is
14, right?
14 and
19 all. Shop also 19.
shop 19 and R19. How much is this?
10 rand.
10 rand. What is this stuff? It's Savannah. Scott. How much? 40. Okay, now don't get into trouble with this.
You are smoking. You are not smoking. I don't know.
What's a 77? How did 72? What's the devices? This cigarette so cheap compared to the.
Not, I don't know because I'm not a smoker, but I have a something. This one, like this is cheap.
How much is this?
This is 75.
One shopkeeper boasted he can supply large amounts of what would be black market cigarettes and transport them from Johannesburg to Cape Town.
In the outing,
yeah,
going the big truck, put 200 kgs, 500 kgs, 300 kgs, going delivered in the Cape Town, Durban. They moving. They
how can you get into trouble? You was SARS or something?
You know, the company, I don't know, making a lot of money and making too much money, the government.
The government is making too much
money. You know, sometimes the SARS people is coming, checking how much you sell cigarette. It's problem.
It's not important how much we stop and how much we detain and how much we seize. It is what do we do to change the behavior? Because if the behavior changes, then you're going to find that the factories that's closed down can reopen again. People who lost their jobs can start getting jobs again. And we can start stimulating the economy.
The only long-term solution is improved law enforcement. It is still the government's law enforcement agency's principal responsibility to fight crime. The illicit trade in cigarettes particularly started to decline when SARS had a dedicated illicit trade unit, and we understand that it's been re-established and we fully support that. This unit must just be very well capacitated and adequately skilled. We also need to improve on our coordination and collaboration between government and the private sector, which we can assist a lot with, especially when it comes to training and information sharing. And Business Against Crime will also work closely with all industry partners that fights crime. And we've done it in the past and we will do it in the future as well.
We have a responsibility amongst others as the communities and members of these communities, particularly ourselves as Tax Justice South Africa, to be the eyes and the ears of law enforcement, to be the eyes and ears of the economic well-being of this country, to be the eyes and ears of those who do business correctly within the cigarette industry.
What we are seeing here is daylight robbery. This is organized crime at its worst. It shows how brazen, how rampant these criminal gangs are working. It shows how openly the taxes are being avoided. Yes, government has acted in a very small way. SARS has taken some action, but a lot of work still lies ahead. We want these criminals to be locked up. We're saying lock them up right now. We want government to bring an end to the ongoing looting so that this money can go into where it's needed most in South Africa, and we at Tax Justice South Africa are calling for urgent, immediate and decisive action. We are sick and tired of only the talk. We want to see people being given the orange overalls, we want the handcuffs to be put on, and we want to bring an end to the tax evasion.
Tax Justice South Africa is calling on government to arrest, prosecute and seize the assets of the criminals heading the production and distribution of illicit cigarettes, enforce stricter controls at our borders and place a permanent SARS official at every South African cigarette factory, shut down any manufacturing plant producing brands of cigarettes being sold beneath the minimum collectible tax, impose a minimum price for tobacco products at retail and wholesale level of 30% above the minimum collectible tax, below which these products are automatically recognized as illegal and instantly seized, and introduce an education program for retailers, paid for from tobacco excise, to help them identify which brands are illicit and cannot be sold. Further details from the Tax Justice South Africa website.